Hare Krishna, everyone. I'll share the screen and get started. And I'll do this for group 2. I'll do the slides. So whenever you need the next slide, just say next slide. Oh, Lord, you can just see me. Great. I'm hoping you can all see the slides now.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. In case of technical difficulties, please message me, or yeah, just in case we, I don't know, freeze or something, let me know somehow. Thank you. Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. So, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, in this presentation, we will show that Krishna is God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, using the scriptures, mainly Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, the prayers of the Devatas, including the prayers of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, the prayers and work of 4 acharyas in the Brahma Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, that's Sanatan Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and Jiva Goswami, and the work of other acharyas such as Adi Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, and other great devotees. And lastly, we look at Krishna's words themselves. In this slide, we can see that Krishna is the source of all incarnations. He's the source of the Chaturvyuha. He's the source of the Leela avatars, the Purusha avatars, the Guna avatars, the Shakti Avesha avatars, the Manvantara avatars, and the Yuga avatars. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna is stated to be this absolute truth, the cause of all causes, the cause of creation, sustenance, and destruction. He is directly and indirectly the consciousness of all manifestations. He is independent because there is no cause beyond him. It was him who first imparted the Vedic knowledge into the heart of Lord Brahma. Srimad Bhagavatam declares that Krishna's position by stating that Krishna is the ultimate object of knowledge. Please him. The purpose of yoga is to realize him. And all fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by him only. He is the supreme knowledge, and all austerities are performed to know him. The purpose of dharma is to render loving devotional service to Krishna. Thus, Srimad Bhagavatam declares Krishna's position and declares that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead and the soul and the goal of life. In Bhagavatam and Vishnu Puran, state that Krishna has 6 qualities, or Bhagavan has 6 qualities in infinite amount, so unlimited amount. So he possesses these 6 qualities in full. That's power, beauty, knowledge, renunciation, fame, and wealth. Srila Rupa Goswami not only mentions 64 qualities of Krishna, but also mentions 4 qualities that are specific to him alone, stating that Krishna has the flute, unparalleled beauty, always surrounded by devotees, and performs enchanting, marvelous pastimes, which we'll hear about more during this presentation. From now on in this presentation, we will look at the exalted devotees described in Srimad Bhagavatam, and who all highlight Krishna to be the supreme personality of Godhead. Starting with our Narad Muni. So Narad Muni compares Krishna to the root of a tree and to a stomach, stating that just as watering the root energizes the rest of the tree and supplying food to the stomach energizes the body, worshipping Lord Krishna satisfies all the demigods who are parts of Krishna. This highlights that Krishna is the source of all the devatas. Shukadeva Goswami states, and this is further emphasized by Shukadeva Goswami, who states that Ete cha shakala pumsha krishnastu bhagavan swayam indradi vyakulam lokam hridayanti yuge yuge. This again highlights the first slide that we saw, and Narad Muni's point, stating that all of the stated incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of Lord Sri Krishna. Sutta Goswami again highlights that this Krishna is the original Narayana and the supreme enjoyer. Sutta Goswami in Bhagavatam bows down to that Lord Sri Krishna, to whom Brahma, Varuna, Indra, Rudra, and Maruts praise, to whom the yogis see in their minds, and whose limit can never be found by any demigod or demon. This is further emphasized by Uddhava, who highlights Krishna's position, saying that he is the Lord of all threes. And this is elaborated, the threes are elaborated by saying that he's the Lord of goodness, passion, and ignorance, past, present, and future. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. And Krishna is the Lord of all the Purushavataras and all the three worlds, the Devi Dham, the Mahesh Dham, and Golok Dham. Maitreya Muni in Bhagavatam also emphasizes Krishna's position and stating that he is the original cause of all causes, that he is eternal, without a doubt. For Kumaras also, when they head to Vaikuntham, highlight Krishna's position to be the supreme absolute truth. Dhruva Maharaj also states that Krishna is the supreme person and indicates that by Krishna's own energy, he creates all the worlds and enters into them. Bhishma Dev, while lying on the bed of arrows, not only says that this Krishna is the first Narayana, the original Narayana, and the supreme enjoyer. Bhishma Dev also sang the Vishnu Sahasranam, the 1,000 names of Vishnu, while lying on the bed of arrows in Kurukshetra. And this again highlights Krishna's position as the supreme personality of Godhead, as many of the exalted devotees in Bhagavatam praise Krishna's position to be God himself. Prahlad Maharaj also states that Krishna manifests himself as the entire cosmic manifestation and highlights that Krishna existed before creation and will be there after the annihilation. Prahlad Maharaj states Krishna as the maintainer between the beginning and the end and emphasizes that whatever exists externally and internally is Lord Sri Krishna himself. Kunti Maharani, again highlighting the many prayers that we've seen so far, again states Krishna to be the original personality. And Arjuna also declares and boldly declares in Bhagavad Gita Krishna's position as the supreme personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest of the absolute truth, the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, and the greatest. So till now we have seen all the great devotees, and there are many more. We've just taken these as examples. We've seen how the prayers of great devotees and exalted souls all highlight and emphasize and establish Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead. So now we move on to our prayers of the Devatas. This will be said by Aditya Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, everyone. So far, we've seen so much evidences given by different personalities, highly exalted personalities. To further continue this presentation by giving other examples as well. This was a prayer said by demigods for Lord Krishna when he was in the womb of Mataji. So next slide. I'll read the translation of this Sanskrita. O Supreme Controller, your Lordship previously accepted incarnations as a fish, a horse, a tortoise, Narsimhadeva, a boar, a swan, Lord Ramchandra, Parshurama, and among the demigods, Vamanadeva, to protect the entire world by your mercy. Now please protect us again by your mercy by diminishing the disturbances in the world. O Krishna, best of the Yadus, we respectfully offer our obeisances unto you. This is quoted by in Srimad Bhagavatam. There are other demigods like Yamaraja. Next slide. Varun Dev. Next slide. Indradev. So they are all also specifying that Lord Sri Krishna is the most powerful personality and supreme personality of Godhead. Uh, Next slide, please. So this is one of the famous verses I would like to read through, and this is stated by Lord Brahma for Lord Sri Krishna. He says, Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govindaha Sarva Karana Karanam. The meaning of this verse is Krishna is the supreme deity known as Govinda. He has an eternal blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no origin and is the prime cause of all causes. In Brahma Samhita prayers, Lord Brahma repeatedly says this verse, and it's a quite a popular verse. It says, Govindam Adi Purusham Tam Aham Bhajami. Next slide, please. And further, Lord Brahma gives this verse again by saying the translation out here. Lord Brahma said, My dear Lord, you are the only worshipable Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore I offer my humble obeisances and prayers just to please you. O Son of the King of the cowherds, your transcendental body is dark blue like a new cloud. Your garment is brilliant like lightning, and the beauty of your face is enhanced by your gunja earrings and the peacock feather on your head. Wearing garlands of various forest flowers and leaves, and equipped with a herding stick, a buffalo horn, and a flute, you stand beautifully with a morsel of food in your hand. Next slide, please. This is again a verse said by Lord Brahma. Next slide, please. Uh, Again, another verse. Uh, Again, praising the Lord. Uh, this is Lord Ganesha, and he says in the Brahma Samhita, it said, यत्पद्मपलवं युगं विनिन्धय कुम्भा द्वन्द्वे प्रणम समये सगनाधिराजः विघ्नं विहन्तुमलमस्य जगत्रसस्य गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि. The translation over here is, I worship Param Purushottam Govinda, whose feet I always wear on my forehead to gain strength for my task of destroying all obstacles. Next slide, please. This is was said by Durga Devi again for Lord Sri Krishna. Shrishti, okay. Shrishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Eka च यस्य भुवा ननि बिभर्ति दुर्गा इच्छानुरूपमपि यस्य चेतस्तत्स गोविन्दम् आदिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि. Now is Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is considered to be the highest devotee of Lord Vishnu or Sri Krishna. He has this to say in Padma Purana. It is mentioned uh, in Vishnu Sahasranam, Goddess Parvati asked Lord Shiva, ordinary people find it difficult to chant all the 1,000 names of the Lord. What is the easy solution for them? Lord Shiva answers by giving this mantra over here. Shri Rama Rameti Rame Rama Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanani. Yeah. Next slide, please. Lord Shiva again continues and gives this. He says, any person who is surrendered to Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the controller of everything, material natures as well as the living entity, is actually very dear to him. Next slide, please. This is Lord Shiva giving the Rudra Gita, and he's mentioning over here. Lord Shiva addressed the Supreme Personality of Godhead with the following prayers. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, all glories unto you. You are the most exalted of all self-realized souls. Since you are always auspicious for the self-realized, I wish that you be auspicious for me. You are worshipable by virtue of all perfect instructions you give. You are the super soul, therefore I offer my obeisances unto you as the supreme living being. Next slide, please. Again, another verse by Lord Shiva. Next slide, please. This is Lakshmi Devi giving prayers and worshipping Govinda. She says, Chintamani prakarasadmama sukalpa vriksha Lakshravati shushurabhirabhipalayantam Lakshmi sahasrashatashambhrama Sevyamanam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, who is the chief progenitor and who is grazing cows, who fulfill all desires in habitats built with spiritual nagins, surrounded by millions of Chintamani trees, where there are always hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis, served with full respect and affection. Next slide, please. And this is Lord Chaitanya, which will be this is Lord Chaitanya saying only Krishna is the supreme personality of God, and all others, including gods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Goddess Durga, and Ganesha, are his servants. All gods except the supremacy of Lord Krishna. Thank you, and I'll forward this presentation to Sanchita now.
We are now talking about Guru Parampara. So, firstly, what is Guru Parampara? So, it refers to the system of disciplic succession in which divine knowledge is transmitted from Sri Guru to a fully surrendered disciple. And also Parampara, the Sanskrit word, it means an uninterrupted row, succession or sequence, and refers to the lineage of teachers and disciples. All traditional gurus have their proper Guru Paramparas. Spiritual knowledge descends to the disciplic succession from Krishna. The representatives of disciplic successions cannot change anything, add anything, or subtract anything. Otherwise, the disciplic succession will be broken and their preaching will have no potency. Many times in the history of this disciplic succession has been broken because the representative of the disciplic succession did not correctly pass on the knowledge to their students. We can understand how perfect knowledge can be received. The information is given to us by Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhagavad Gita, particularly in chapter 4, text 1 and 2. So, next slide, please. So, starting with Sanatana Goswami, here it says in Krishna Leela's Tattva, Sri Sanatana Goswami glorifies the Srimad Bhagavatam. O Holy Bhagavata, you are my only company, my only friend, and my Guru. You are my greatest treasure and my personal savior. You are the emblem of my highest fortune and the very form of ecstasy. I offer my obeisance unto you. So he has written 4 important books, which are Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the great nectar of the Lord devotees, Hari Bhakti Vilasa, performance of devotion to Hari, Krishna Leelas Tattva, glorification of the pastimes of Krishna, and Brihad Vaishnava Toshani, that which brings the great joy to the devotees of Krishna. Next slide, please. And the next Goswami, the Rupa Goswami, Swarupa Sanatana Goswami. Here it says, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu commissioned Sri Rupa Goswami to write on the science of Rasa Tattva. His work includes Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Lagu Bhagavatamrita, and Ujjvala Nilamani, Vidagdha Madhva, Stavamala, Sri Radha Krishna, Ganodesa Deepika, Dana Keli, Kaumadi, and many more. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu gives the essence of all Vedic scriptures regarding the kingdom of Bhakti. He established Sri Sri Radha Govindaji, the beloved deities of the entire Gaudiya Sampradaya. Gaudiya Vaishnavas are known as Rupanugas, followers of Sri Rupa Goswami. Every Raganuga devotee aspire to become a servant of the lotus feet of Sri Rupa Goswami. Next slide, please. Raghunatha Bhatta Goswami. By the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Raghunatha Bhatta Goswami remained a lifelong brahmachari. His service was constant, chanting of Hare Krishna and reading Srimad Bhagavatam in Jagannath Puri. Raghunatha satisfied Lord Gauranga by his exceptional cooking and kirtan performance, which won him the title Kirtanacharya. Next slide. Jiva Goswami. Even as a child, Jiva Goswami took up the worship of Sri Sri Ramakrishna deities, carefully decorating them and offering bhoga and arti. He served them attentively. Even when playing, Jiva Goswami games were often connected with Lord Krishna's pastime, and even his work includes Srimad Bhagavata Tika, Krama Sandarbha, Lagu Vaishnava Tosani, 10th canto of Bhagavatam commentary, Brahma Samhita Tika, Brahma Rasamrita Sindhu Tika, Durgamam Sangamani, and Ujjvala Nilamani Tika Lokana Rochani. Next slide, please. And now we will see about the great acharyas through their work, such as Adi Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, and Madhvacharya, confirm that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Next slide. So I'll just read the first two verses. Through his work, Adi Shankaracharya repeatedly highlighted Krishna's position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Over 300 texts are attributed to his name, including commentaries, Bhashya, original philosophical exposition, Prakarana Grantha, and poetry stotra. Next. Ramanujacharya noted he is one of the most important exponents of the Sri Vaishnavism tradition within Hinduism. His philosophical foundation for devotionalism were influential to the Bhakti movement. Next, please. Madhvacharya also highlighted that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his work includes Gita Bhashya, Gita Tatparya, Bhagavata Tatparya Nirnaya. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
It's the just
Can you hear me? Sorry.
No,
We
it's
cannot
not
see the
changing.
next screen. With
It's
this,
still on Madhavacharya.
Uh,
Oh, yes, yes.
I'm sorry. Is that better? Is that
Yeah.
now great devotee slide?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the great devotees. So we'll see about great devotees through their work. Also confirm that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here we provide some examples. Next, please. Next slide, please.
Mataji, can you see the slides? Sorry, I'm
No, Vidushi, it's still on great devotees.
Oh, is that better now? Is this better?
No, it's still on
It's not
great devotees.
changing,
Not
Vidushi.
changing.
I
Oh,
think
Yes.
it's
I'm so
something to do
sorry.
with
One
your.
second.
Now it's come to Kulashekara.
Great. It's better. Is that better now? So we were just on
Yes.
great devotees. Then so Mataji has just done that slide. I think, yeah. Kulashekara.
So I won't go into detail, but also Kulashekara's var Mukunda Mala Stotram, and the next one is Annamaya. Next one. Other great devotees such as Jayadeva Goswami, Purandara Das, Thagaraja, Tulasi Das, and Suradas. They explain how the Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. And from now on, Sandhya Mataji will take over this presentation. Thank you. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna,
Sandhya-
everyone. Can you hear me?
Sandhya Mataji, is the slide proper?
Yes, I can see.
Yes,
Thank
great.
you. Next one, please. First, I want to say thank you to Vidushi Mataji and Aditya Prabhu and Sanjita Mataji for sharing some lovely prayers by exalted personalities. So what I'm going to do here is the next couple of slides. I only got 3 slides to share, but I'm going to talk quite a bit. And so I'm going to share a couple of points just to go through what they have said and add on more evidences why we say Krishna is the supreme God. Okay. So first thing first, we are all conditioned souls, and we do a lot of mistakes. And what happened here in our daily life? So we say that common people conception says that show me God. So if you go to a neophyte person and he says show me God, I don't believe God is only in the temple. He doesn't exist anywhere. So I say, so by seeing so we need proof. It means we need to use our senses in order to see that. So seeing is believing. So there are 3 kinds of evidence or proof. So we'll say pratyaksha, praman, which means direct evidence where you can see the deities. That is very good, but our senses could not be perfect. But the next one is anuman, praman, and because we can come to incorrect conclusions. For example, it can be like this, it cannot be like this. And the last one is shabda praman, which is based on the authoritative sources, just as what Mataji and the Prabhuji has mentioned earlier, and he shared about the lovely prayers earlier. So why we need these evidences is because, back to this question, the original question was, we are all conditioned souls, we commit mistakes, we are illusioned by Maya, we have the cheating propensity and imperfect senses. And so next slide, please. Thank you. So now I'm going to move on to definition of God. So what is the definition of God? So we have listened from the first group that everything comes from something and God exists. So the definition of God is something that saying that everything comes from something, so that is God. So the Brahma Sutra, the essence of the Vedic knowledge, explains Janmadi Asya Yataha, which Vidushi Mataji has mentioned earlier, and that God is absolute truth. It is Him from whom everything emanates. Obviously, there's something from which everything emanates. It's not something ordinary like us. It's something very, very great. So based on the evidences on the previous slide, that's called Shabda Praman, it's saying that there is Vedic knowledge is infallible. So we base on authorized scriptures, authorized sources coming from disciplic succession, as Mataji has mentioned earlier in the Guru Parampara. So now, what are these authorized scriptures? So these authorized scriptures are something compared to our material instruction manual. For example, if you want to buy a car, we have different type of manuals, but it is the different scriptures, so different scriptures, different manuals, but for different audiences, but the essence is still the same. So so next one, so here in this slide, we say definition of God. So based on what I've mentioned earlier, so definition of God we can summarize as he's the ultimate source of everything. And we know the Chatushloki very well. And then he's Bhagwan, all opulent, Vidushi Mataji has mentioned earlier, and supreme controller, supreme proprietor, supreme enjoyer, and well-wisher. Bhoktaram Yaget Pasam in the chapter 5, verse 29. Then I would like to make a comment around what Bible says. So in the Bible, there's a description saying, who is God in us all, one God and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all. So I will not read the whole thing. What I'm trying to say is there's some reference there from the Bible. And in Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, verse 20, it's saying that I am the super soul, or Arjuna, seated in the hearts of all living entities. So Jesus didn't say that he is God, he's son of God, but there's someone above him. So he's saying that one God and Father of all, above all. Just trying to make a comparison to another scripture. Next slide, please. So we had beautiful, wonderful prayers, so beautiful prayers shared by Vidushi Mataji and Prabhuji and Mataji Sanjita Mataji just now. So beautiful prayers. Sometimes it just can make you go, oh, so beautiful. So these are some of the qualifications based on those beautiful prayers that we can summarize here. So one of them, let's go through one by one. So there are a couple of them there. The first qualification is Lord Krishna's position has a supreme, which has been seen and it's not speculation at all. So his incarnations, Mataji talked earlier very well. And then we also have the scientific evidence. So where the scientific evidence proved that Krishna existed 5,000 years ago, has stated in the Vedic scriptures. Scientists have found the city where Lord Krishna lived in Dwarka, has described in the Vedic scriptures. NASA has taken satellite pictures of the bridge between India and Sri Lanka that Lord Krishna built in his Lord Ram's incarnation some 1.7 million years ago. So that is the first one, his supreme position. The second qualification, Krishna has a spiritual personal form, Sachit Ananda Vigraha. And we also talked about, his full 6 opulences as mentioned earlier in the previous slide. And we have the wisdom, beauty, his wisdom, beauty, fame, power, wealth, and renunciation. Third qualification, anyone can claim to be God, but actually who can prove it? So, but Lord Krishna has proved it in his past times, and based on all the past times, you can see his the different scriptures in his past times and so on. So some of the scriptures like in Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures is mentioned here that let's go to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, where he protect innocent people from, Arjuna in the universal form. He demonstrated all the unlimited mouths, eyes, wonderful visions, and so on. And that form was decorated with many celestial ornaments and bore many diving upraised weapons. So all these wonderful acts that Krishna exhibited to Arjuna in chapter 11, verse 10 to 12. Another one was Krishna did was that no one has acted or performed such act was Krishna carried Govardhan Hill. Everyone know when he was 7 years old for 7 days, and he was for 7 days, 7 nights, and it was witnessed by thousands of people who were standing underneath the mountain. And Krishna also expanded his body, duplicated his body to 16,108 identical bodies. And then we got this Brahmaji's pastimes with Krishna, where Krishna had transformed himself to 100 cowherd boys. And another one was Mother Yashoda, when he showed Mother Yashoda the cosmic manifestation in his little mouth at that time. And then we have Draupadi calling out Krishna, and Krishna came as a sari in the court in front of the kings. And then Krishna brought back life of 6 children of Devaki. And another one, Krishna cured a hunchback lady who was selling offering sandalwood pulp to the Lord. So these lovely activities, no one has exhibited so far. So that proves the qualification number 3. So now we'll move on to qualification. I think Vidushi has touched it on this on the qualification number 4. So there's 64 qualities. I'll just touch a few points here. So Krishna says, I'm the Supreme Father. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving father. In Bhagavad Gita 14:4. And I'm the father of the universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. So Krishna says in chapter 9, verse 17 in the Gita. And also in the as Supreme Controller, Krishna confirms, I give heat and I withhold and send forth the rain. That is chapter 9, verse 19. And with a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. Chapter 10, verse 42. And the last one, I'm just giving only 3 examples. There's so many examples. So Lord Krishna is omnipresent. It means he's present everywhere. I'm the super soul, O Arjuna, seated in the hearts of all living entities. I'm the beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse 20. So if you want more, I can share the notes here. I have more, but I think we got more slides to cover. But so let's move on to the next qualification. Krishna, Lord Krishna's supremacy has been mentioned in detail in so many previous slides. So I will not go all through. I'll just give one only as an example. Let's start with I think it's covered by all the slides, previous slides, so I will not go back again, okay? So sorry. And the last qualification, Krishna gives us an address in Srimad Bhagavatam. He has a place there saying there's Goloka Vrindavan. He said if you want to avoid or you want to avoid the repeated cycle, birth and death, he has given a place, Goloka Vrindavan, Vaikunta. And he confirmed, he assures us in so many verses mentioned so beautifully in the Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. That's all from me. Any more? Next slide, please. Yeah, that's all from me. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Can everybody see the next slide? So Krishna confirms he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We're still stuck on Hare Krishna. Now we can see this. Krishna confirms he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Guru Bhyo Namaha. The youngsters gave me the concluding part of the show, and I'll say, I'll confirm, and Krishna is confirming himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It goes like this. In the Chatusloki of Srimad Bhagavatam, speaking to Lord Brahma, Krishna says, Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before the creation when there was nothing but myself, nor there was the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead, and after annihilation, what remains will be I, the personality of Godhead. Furthermore, he says, O Brahma, please know that the universal elements enter into the cosmos and at the same time do not enter into the cosmos. Similarly, I myself also exist within everything created, and at the same time I am outside of everything. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Aham sarvasva prabho matta sarvam pravartati itmatva bhajanti mam buddha bhava samanvita. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service, and I worship him. I worship me with all their hearts. Charmasloka, importance of Charmasloka. Charmasloka is the final and definitive message delivered by a sage or an incarnation. It is of great importance in Hinduism. Varaha Charma Sloka and the Bhagavad Gita's Charma Sloka are the great importance or of great importance. This type of sloka is mainly associated with Lord Vishnu. The three important Charma Sloka are those in the Ramayana, the Bhagavad Gita, and Varaha Purana.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Sorry, just everybody can see the slides that mom's referring to, right? I'm just making sure. Hare Krishna?
Yes.
Yes, okay. The Charma Shlokam slide, right? Just sorry, just thought in case we are going through without seeing the slides.
Charma Sloka in Ramayana. Sri Ramacharma Sloka occurs in the context of the surrender of Vibhishana to Sri Rama before the commencement of the war against Ravana. It says that those who surrender to Sri Rama and pray for help get his protection. This is Sri Rama Vrata, assurance given by Lord Ramachandra, declared in Vibhishana Saranagati section as explained in the 17th canto of Yuddha Kanda Ramayana. Vibhishana was given refuge after this surrender. The Abhaya applies to everyone who recites the sloka after initiation by an acharya. It is an indicative of God's willing help to those who are in distress. The main point of sloka is take refuge in me. Varaha Charma Sloka. This sloka is narrated by Lord Varaha, incarnation of Vishnu, to Lakshmi, his consort. The Lord declares that whoever remembers and meditates on him, even when they are in good health, will be emancipated by from the bondage of life. The main point of sloka is always remember me. That is Lord Krishna. Bhagavad Gita Charma Sloka. The Charma Sloka of Srimad Bhagavad Gita is the most often quoted. The sloka is the 66th sloka in chapter 18 of Bhagavad Gita. It says, renouncing all dharmas, take refuge in me alone. I shall free you from all inauspicious acts. Therefore, do not grieve. These Janma slokans highlight Krishna's position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the only one who can give liberation. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everybody. In this presentation, we have heard that Krishna is God and the Supreme Personality of Godhead based on scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. And many exalted devotees in Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, the devatas, including Lord Brahma, Durga Devi, Ganesh Ji, and Lord Shiva and Lakshmi Devi. We've also heard the great work and great work by our acharyas in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, who have, by their way of living and by their work, have shown that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Other acharyas, Adi Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, and Madhvacharya have also shown through their work, their prayers, and the way of them they live that Krishna himself is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We heard the definition of Krishna and how a definition of God and how Krishna meets all of the criteria, and his main power of to reciprocate with his devotees in many of the pastimes that he did, as spoken by Sandhya Mataji, that Krishna being so God, and he can reciprocate with all devotees in all manners, can reciprocate with all devotees. And we've also heard from Krishna himself, Krishna's word himself, that he is the Supreme Personality of God and he is God. So thank you very much from group 2. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Well done.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Right. So question time. Does anybody have questions for the group? Any comments?
That's a nice presentation.
team. Yeah, good information from all the scriptures. Felt like I read through all the scriptures now, but each sloka, but it's nice. Thank you so much for the information. Yeah. And proofs also, the way Sandhya Mataji explained the proofs. That's good. Each and everybody have gathered, I think, a lot of information and put together. It's nice. Maybe there is a kind of a chart, like one chart. Maybe I would suggest, like like a summary, like, okay, from the scriptures, like Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Krishna is a god, and finally, as one chart, if we have everything, then it is nice to see lots of information. We have gone through one chart, saying that, okay, would have been helpful, I felt. But thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Yes, we will certainly work on popping this in one chat, and it'll be nice to see it all together.
Anyone else? Okay, then can I go? All right. Firstly, I'd like to say that it was a really good presentation. Sandhya Mataji's, and this is my opinion, Sandhya Mataji's first slide could have been the introduction to the whole thing, because she actually talked about why we need to actually go to the scriptures. And you could have actually, Sandhya Mataji, you could have actually elaborated on that a little bit more, to say that, yes, because we have to remember this whole presentation is aimed at a 19-year-old kid, right? Now, the assumption here from your presentation is that this is a kid who is interested in bhakti. Most 19-year-olds aren't. Fact. Yeah. So it's important to actually highlight the fact that there are various ways information can be gathered, and why Shabda Pramana stands highest. And after that, if you brought in all your Shabda Pramana, that would have really, really given a lot of weight to the presentation. Yeah. And bringing in all the other sampradayas, other acharyas, Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, that was really good. You briefly touched upon the Bible, and it didn't quite sit there. That was my opinion. The reason is we could have, if you brought in the Bible, then you should have also brought in probably the Quran, or then you're opening up a whole vista which you could have touched upon. And within the Bible itself, it's just massive. So yeah. So either we could have gone deeper into that, or just left it out. That's my opinion. Yeah. Others may beg to disagree, and that's perfectly fine as well. Yeah. Now, a couple of points, and this goes for both teams. When it comes to pronunciation of different shlokas, there is a lot of work that needs to be done. Okay, so at some stage we are going to sit down and probably do a class on pronunciation first. Okay, and another thing is, you brought out a number of shlokas from the Brahma Samhita, but you mistakenly attributed it to the various devatas. Okay, so you said Ganesh ji says Yat Pada Pallava Yugam Vinidhaya Kumbha. No, it's not. It's Brahma who's talking about Ganesha. Okay. Similarly, Chintamani Prakrasad Masukal Pariksha is all about the fact that there's not just one Lakshmi Devi, there are many Lakshmi Devis, and that's being brought out by Lord Brahma again. And so throughout and that's probably another area that we need to focus on. So maybe we could just park, and in my opinion, the Brahma Samhita is a very, 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 very important work when it comes especially to preaching. When we come to talking about Lord Shri Krishna, the Brahma Samhita stands absolutely tops because it helps us to counter a number of arguments like, what about Lord Shiva? Why is Lord Shiva worshipped? Why does Lord Ram worship Lord Shiva in the Ramayana? Now that's a very, very common question, isn't it? It's a very common question. If you're saying that Lord Krishna, Lord Rama is the highest, why is Lord Shiva worshipped by Lord Rama in the Ramayana? Why are different Puranas praising Lord Shiva? Why are they praising Agni? Why are they praising, Devi? So the Brahma Samhita actually, in just one paragraph, brings out the counter argument for each of these. And maybe since we've just finished chapter 3 of the Bhagavatam, maybe next week we can start with the Brahma Samhita, go through the Brahma Samhita, because that gives us wonderful artillery, to actually hang on and to say, yes, Govindam Adi Purusham, Tamaham Bhajami. He is the supreme. Yeah. Now, another point that could be also raised is, well, what about Lord Vishnu? And I can see that you have very neatly skirted around that. So, yeah, because if Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna, who came first, and, isn't Lord Krishna an avatar of Lord Vishnu, which is what the Dashavatara says, and, well, not the Dashavatara Stotram by Jayadeva Goswami, but the general Dashavatara, and then you have the Vishnu Purana, and so there's just so many questions that come up when we start saying Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah. So there are all those little points that could have been addressed, or maybe not addressed at all.
I think we just
someone brings
Narayana,
it
Krishna, Rama, Supreme One name.
Yeah. And that again brings us back to the Brahma Samhita, because the Brahma Samhita again addresses all these points and addresses them in a way that it is all that there is no need for any what's the word I'm looking for? There doesn't need to be any tension about it. The Brahma Samhita actually addresses everything very beautifully. So that's one. And there was, yeah, I made a, I what did I write this down? Rupa Goswami. Oh yes. in the slide, Rupa Goswami, and then within brackets it says Swarupa Sanatana Goswami. What does that actually mean? That was the one which Aditya Prabhu spoke on, was it? Or was it Sanchita Mataji? I think Sanchita Mataji spoke on it.
It was in another name, Mataji. Not sure though.
Not sure, Mataji. When I was when we were taking the information, I think I can't remember where that was, but they had that in brackets, so I just presumed. Mataji, we can't hear you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Swarupa refers to Swarup Damodar Goswami, who is the secretary of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Sanatana Goswami is Rupa Goswami's older brother. So I'm not sure where the...
Yeah, sorry, Mataji. We just kind of copy pasted the whole
Yeah.
thing. But
And just another point which you might want to note is when you are copy pasting your verses, make sure they have the diacritics in them. Then it makes it easier to read. And you're not guessing which is long and which is short. And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Roja Mataji, you have something to say? Sorry.
Yes, Mataji, I thought I'll just give one tip in terms of slides and presentation. You know, so most of these slides are overwhelming with the sloka and then translation. So, like suppose. Like in some of the slides you have 2 slokas and 2 translation, but you have chosen to say only little bit because there is no time frame. You know, like so that's what I said. Oh, okay, I'm not going to read this. You read it whenever you need, when you have time. So no audience will go back and read that. You know, either you because you are capturing the audience in that 1 hour. Your that brain they're giving you to you. So how much ever we can say, we can tell them to the audience in that. Or we can say at the end, we can give you these references so you can go back. This is the material. But every slide, we are so enthusiastic to see, oh, what are they going to say? And they say, I'm reading only the first line. You go and read later. I felt like that. Sorry to say, but you know, when even this is any spiritual or material or whatever presentation, you know, because we are like audience are giving 1 hour time is so precious to us. So I felt I felt like that. I thought it's even in your work also you can use that, or anywhere as a tip.
I agree, Mataji. We completely agree. Yes, we should have concisely put the slides together. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you don't need to. We so much of googling have been done and gathered the information. You felt like, oh, if we don't put this, maybe this Goswami may be underrated, kind of, and then we'll put him like you know, we will give him let him say this also, you know. But who will go and scrutiny whether that's the thing, you know? So yeah, all the Goswamis did a great job. We can't do, and you know, there will be years for us to talk about that, but we can highlight in the presentations, and all these great Goswamis or acharyas confirmed Krishna is Lord, and then these are the references which we cannot take up in this 1 hour. Maybe we could have, I don't know. I thought I'll share it, whether it's good or bad.
No, we completely agree.
Good, the thought should be shared among us, because we are going to be future preachers, which we have to learn from each other.
Yeah. No, a very valid point, Roja Mataji. Very, very valid point. And I remember one of my, this is long ago, when I started doing PowerPoint presentations at university. One of our lecturers actually told us, he says, please stop killing us with bullet points. Please stop shooting bullet points at us. So from that, I learned that, you know, you never have, you sometimes need to have bullet points if you want to make people know that there are 1, 2, 3, you know, that you're going through. But otherwise, it's bare minimum on a slide as much as possible. And like Roja Mataji said, yes, one thing Roja Mataji did say, that she wanted everything on a single worksheet. Believe me, Roja Mataji, that is going to be an incredibly huge worksheet, because
sorry,
because because Jiva Goswami has written the Shad Sandarbha just to answer this one question. Okay, so the Tattva Sandarbha, which demonstrates that, which demonstrates that this philosophy is topmost, and then that Bhagavatam is the topmost scripture. And then from that, he comes to Paramatma Sandarbha to say that, okay, then there are, the three. Thank you. Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. And then he goes on to Bhagavad Sandarbha. And then where he demonstrates that there is Bhagavan who is higher than everything. And then he comes to Krishna Sandarbha, which is all about Krishna being topmost. Okay, so this is 4 books of proofs from various scriptures that Jiva Goswami has put together. I seriously doubt it's going to come into one worksheet.
I felt what I felt.
No. I know what you meant.
Yeah. I felt like, suppose we are giving to 19 years kid, we can say, hey, these are the scriptures. So there's so many scriptures. Okay, from here. Okay, from that arrow, then come back. Okay, you don't know about acharyas, but there are so many acharyas. Okay, they said, and then you don't know about demigods. There are so many gods. They said this, and all these great people have said, and like a circle kind of thing. Like Vidushi initially has 5 points. I felt. Oh, then he said, oh, so Krishna is a Lord because so many people have done research in past years. So I in my 100 years lifetime, can I do, or I don't know how many years, but can I research and prove that Krishna is a god? No, I have to believe all of them and then keep going. Something like that. Bless you, somebody. Yeah, I felt that. I thought, I don't know.
Very nice point, Mataji. Yes.
That's an amazing point. I really like.
Yes, Sandhya Mataji.
Sorry, Shukmala Mataji, did you question first? Did you raise your hand first?
I think I have to lower my hand 1 minute.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought okay. So I'll put my hand down first. Let me lower my hand first. Okay. The reason you mentioned something. I like the topic about Krishna and Vishnu, and we didn't touch about the point.
Yeah.
Mataji, could you just can you please, in 5 minutes, can you convince me if I'm a 19-year-old girl? So I'm going to ask you a question. Because I was told to go to temple and worship Perumal. Okay? But my father says, no, Krishna is supreme. Because Bhagavad Gita says, Srimad Bhagavatam says. But I was told, as I was growing up with the way I'm coming, the surroundings and so on, Vishnu. Now, how can you convince me? I know I've read the Gita and all that, but how can you convince me that Krishna is more supreme to Vishnu? Please share that. Thank you.
Okay, firstly, I will not convince you at all. Because the first thing we must know is one is not higher than the other. We have to be very convinced about that. Okay, one is just another form of the other. So Krishna is the form of God when he's relaxed at home. Okay, where he's wearing just a gunjamala, just vanamala. The mala has, so a vanamala, okay, his Vaijayanti mala has all kinds of forest flowers. A Vaijayanti mala is one that has a minimum of 5 different kinds of flowers on it. Okay, which means it's not something which is precisely put together. It's made by all his cowherd boys, his friends. They all put it together, they garland him, and he's walking around with that. He's got a peacock feather stuck in his hair is cascading down his back. Yeah, and he's walking around barefoot, he's running around here and there, he's covered in dust. This is God at home. The same God, when he goes out to perform his duties of creation and maintenance, he comes out in his official form, where he has 4 arms He carries the Shankh, Chakra, Gada, Padma, and all other kinds of ayudha, all other kinds of weapons for protection and for maintenance and for sustenance. And he comes dressed perfectly. He's wearing his armor, he's wearing his kiritam, his crown. There is not a hair out of place. His hair, if you look at Perumal's hair, you should come and look at my deity's hair. It is so beautiful in the back, in a bun with, jewels on it. That is his hair. You go and see Krishna's hair in the temple, it's a top knot. And then we put a wig on him and then we, decorate him. His hair is open. But Perumal, no. He is official. Krishna, the topmost quality of Krishna. Can anyone tell me what is the topmost quality of Krishna? Absolute topmost quality of Krishna.
Please, with his devotees.
Loving.
Yes, yes.
Devotees, yeah, for the devotees. He only cares for his devotees.
More importantly, what does Damodar Leela tell us?
Prem, bhakti.
What else? What does Mata Yashoda do?
She binds him with her.
She binds him. What does that tell us about Krishna?
Determination.
Bound by his devotees.
He is controlled by his devotees.
Yeah.
His devotees are more powerful than Krishna. That can never happen with Lord Vishnu. That kind of reciprocation happens only with Krishna, and that, our acharyas tell us, makes him supreme. This is like you have a Supreme Court judge. Prabhupada gives us this example. You have a Supreme Court judge. In the court, he's wearing his black robes. He's wearing, he's just sitting there looking very stern. And he's the person who has just passed a judgment saying so-and-so will be hanged by his neck till dead. And then he comes home and he sees his little grandson. He throws everything away, he gets down on his hands and knees and he says, chalo, chalo, ghoda, ghoda khilte. And he puts the grandson on his back and he crawls all over the place. This is the difference between Lord Vishnu and Lord Krishna. The same grandson cannot approach him in the court. That relationship doesn't work, which is why you have, when Krishna is in Dwarka, is in Mathura or in Dwarka, you don't have Radharani coming there. You don't have the Gopas coming there. They meet once in Kurukshetra, but beyond that, they don't meet because it just doesn't work. There he is the supreme God. He is the ruler. He's surrounded by so many people. So that is Krishna. Krishna is love personified. Love for his devotees. Love for everyone. Lord Vishnu is also love personified, but he can't show it. Not the way Lord Krishna shows it. With such abandon. With no regard for any rules. With no regard for any kind of social regulations. That is the difference between Krishna and Vishnu. And at the end of the day, it's entirely up to you who you want to worship. If you want a relationship with Lord Vishnu, yes, you can have a relationship with Lord Vishnu in awe and reverence. The relationship with Vishnu is usually Shanta Dasya. Sakhya Madhurya, Sakhya Vatsalya Madhurya, not really possible. Because he is supreme, the Supremo. Whereas with Krishna, any relationship. So it's entirely up to whoever you choose. Does that make sense, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, thank you. Very nicely explained. Now I'm convinced, okay? Just Krishna is supreme personality. I just want to make sure that it's part of preaching, okay, Mataji?
Yeah, absolutely. No. No. I totally understand, Mataji. I was just so what do you all think? Next week should we start with Brahma Samhita? Probably a few weeks we can finish the Brahma Samhita, 2 or 3
Yes,
weeks. A
Mataji.
few weeks. Yeah.
Please.
And we can learn the verses as well as we go along.
Yes.
So we will do the first verse of Brahma Samhita and then we will start with the Govindam prayers. Or do you want to go through the whole Brahma Samhita?
Whatever you can, Mataji.
Okay, if we go through the whole Brahma Samhita also, we can do that. It talks about creation and it talks about, there is a description of Goloka and so on. What we'll do is we won't go into too much detail in all those. But we can go through those verses as well. And then we'll come to the Govindam prayers. And after the Govindam prayers as well, there is this whole bit where Lord Vishnu himself is talking, or Lord Krishna himself is talking. Okay, so we'll go through those verses as well. And you will see that a lot of those verses match very closely to the Bhagavad Gita. So, okay. So next week, then we'll start with Brahma Samhita.
Okay, Mataji.
Okay.
Thank you so
And
much.
after that, I would like to do the nectar of instruction
Oh.
very quickly, because when we come to that, I'll tell you why. Because after that, we are going to go off and do Ajamil Katha. And if you read your nectar of instruction, you will find that Prabhupada starts his commentary with the question asked by Parikshit Maharaj in Ajamil Katha. So there is a logical lead through from the nectar of instruction to the Ajamil Katha. So we'll do that and then we'll go on. Okay, that's the plan. Krishna willing. Thank you so much.
Happy Ekadasi.
Happy Nirjala Ekadashi, everyone.
Oh yes, happy Ekadashi, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Pavanebhyo
Thank you.
Vaishnavebhyo.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hari